Welcome to the Sheffield As Bill Sees It meeting. This is a main share meeting, and today it is with great pleasure and much gratitude that we welcome Michael D. from South Dakota, who's come to share for about 40 minutes, after which we'll open up for general sharing or if you'd like to ask a question. Thank you, Michael. It's wonderful to have you here, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Andrew, and thank you to all the readers. Great to be here this morning. Thank you to Young, who couldn't be here with us this morning, but certainly appreciate the invite to come and share a little bit about my experience with the principles laid out in this little reading, this little share that Bill has from this letter in 1950. And what's interesting to me is a couple things. I don't know how you guys are. I can just tell you how I am, right? Like, so when I first came into Alcoholics Anonymous, I'm not really sure I was concerned with an answer, right? Or even a good one. I think what I was concerned with was being perceived as a man who was acting in the right answer. Now, I wasn't. It was all about like trying to convince my family. I was trying to convince the people in my life that I was making the effort this time. It had nothing to do with accuracy of an answer, goodness of an answer, virtue. There was none of that attached to my motives. What I was trying to do was simply get out of the kitchen because it was hot in the kitchen. I was by the stove. The flames were high, and I was very worried about just cooling off a little bit. And how I had perceived this was if I can get you to think that I'm well-intentioned, if I can perform in such a way to get you to perceive me as someone of high value, high integrity, really trying, right? And I could do that in a number of ways. I could do that by displaying things I heard other people talk about. I was a big fan of Sandy B from Tampa, and he would say unbelievably powerful things on cassettes that I would see or conferences that I would go to. And so I would replicate things he said. I would sort of customize them so that you would think these were my ideas, right? Another thing that I would do is I would hide behind some slogans, right? Like, progress, not perfection. I was actually pretty sure that what that really meant is none of us were doing this in any kind of depth, and it didn't matter, right? What really mattered is that we didn't drink, and we just sort of hung out, and that was the goal of recovery, was just to not drink, to acquire big Italian numbers on a metal chip, and get them once a year, and have everybody applaud or have some beautiful cake when you got one, right? And of course, over time, I've bumped into other things in Alcoholics Anonymous, like some truth, right? And what's interesting, right, is even things like our primary purpose is to stay sober, but it's also to help others to achieve sobriety. And if I'm only staying sober and I'm not helping others to achieve sobriety, I am not. By definition of what a sentence is, practicing that primary purpose. It's two things. Now, those little distinctions aren't, I think, placed in my heart or placed in my mind by the fellowship, by the grace of God, to make me feel small or to help me see how bad of a human being I am, how weak, how lame, how unvirtuous I am, how drenched in vice or my own ego I am. I don't think that's the goal of being sort of corrected or nuanced or honed or sculpted in Alcoholics Anonymous by God's grace. I don't think so. I think it's because he loves me. And by definition, he's desirous that I become the very best that I can be. And there's confusion in that, right? Because by definition of saying I'm an alcoholic in step one, by saying that in meetings that I go to, I'm admitting I'm powerless, not only over alcohol, but I have this other distinction that Dr. Silkworth talks about. It's not just a physical allergy. that he mentions. He also talks about an inability to differentiate the true from the false. An inability to differentiate the true from the false. That's different than being a moron, which is what I thought I was. I was just a moron, you know. Well, candidly, I may practice moronic behavior, right? And give others the impression that, yes, moron. And there's certainly some evidence to validate that theory. But beyond those sort of moronic escapades, it is this heart that sincerely desires to be a good man, tries, believes that I could be a good man if I just simply had the knowledge on how to do it, the wisdom on how to apply it, and the power to actually get both of those other two things done. But it's filtered through this inability to differentiate true things from false things. And so I'm making mistakes all the time. All the time. I wish I would. I wish I made a lot less mistakes than I actually made. Now, I've been an active member of Alcoholics Anonymous since August 27th of 1991. I drank during that period of time. I've sponsored people during that time. I've been sponsored through that time. Been a student of the book, gone to meetings. I'm a home group member. Service work that I do within that home group and around the local area in Alcoholics Anonymous. I've had the privilege and the pleasure of expanding those friendships all across the United States and throughout the world. But I have yet to hit perfect for anything longer than my ego can perceive it to be, right? Like, man, I have been unable to do this thing perfectly. And so what I think drew me to this particular reading was the plan that it encourages. You know, this path that guides me to progressive improvement and limitless expansion of the principles of Alcoholics Anonymous in my life. And the reason that those principles are so important is not because I drink too much. That is not why. When I first came in, that's what I truly believed. I truly believed that if the alcohol stayed over there and I stayed over here, my life would greatly improve. Now, that is true, right? There's less legal bills, right? I'm dodging less flatware in the home, right? I'm back in the big bed. Like, there's good results from that, for sure, right? But it's not, I don't think, the ultimate goal. I think one of the things that was wrong with me when I came in was that I was so vacant and void of God's grace, of a belief that he could love someone like me, that my worth and who I am as a man do not come from worldly successes or accolades, that they come by a singular definition, that the fingerprints of the creator of the universe are on me, or I wouldn't be here, or I wouldn't be here. And that if, in fact, I can comply with these principles in the program, that they will lead me to a better relationship with this God. And then through that relationship with God, I can have the ability and the power to love you, to respect you, to share a dignity with you and cast one upon you that you may not deserve either, candidly. But that doesn't negate my responsibility for reflecting it. And so as the application of that gets more and more difficult, and it does for me, and I don't know about you guys, I'm just telling you, when I came in, the road was super wide, right? It was like, don't drink and shut up and go to the meeting. And that was like, I was a super success if I got that done, you know. And then all of a sudden, the road began to narrow, right? And the road began to be about, hey, I have a wife. I have a wife. Am I treating my wife with dignity? You see, because before AA, before application of the process and the principles and the program and the 12 steps and the traditions and the concepts, what my goal was to make sure she treated me right. And I could be very critical. And I could point out the nuances, you know, because I love her, of where she's failing in her job as wife. Right? I mean, I had it backwards, man. I couldn't see. I couldn't do it. I had an inability to differentiate the true from the false. I could see her flaws in her responsibilities and not the flaws in mine. And I am not called to judge or assess hers in any great manner, in any condemning manner. I'm called to be self-critical, not others-critical. And of course, that may seem very elementary to some, and it probably is. That's not a very deep concept in life, right? But I'm still failing at it, early alcoholics, right? I'm still failing at it. And what I needed was to find a God who was not only concerned with the big things in my life, like the absence of alcohol in my body.
Shut the fuck up, nigga.
But
Fuck your face.
a God that had this ability.
Fuck your motherfucker.
In spite of some of the failings that some of us have. Right? Can we really be kind and loving? Can we really be respectful and honorable in the face of respect and love not being shown us? I think we can, but not on our own power. With Him. And so what do we do in these circumstances? What do we do in these situations? I think, especially when we're not sure, which is what this little reading talked about, what do you do? I think we go back to the basics. And as it says, we ask God for guidance. We sit and we think, well, God, what would God have me do? What would God have me do? Well, probably love. Right? Someone steps on my toes, don't swing back, pray for them. So somebody, I don't know, makes me feel small. Can I elevate them right after that? Can I go get them a cup of coffee? Or do I grab Andrew and I would grab Young, right, and Sandy, and we're going to have our own meeting over here about that person over there. Like, well, I'm not doing that. I am not going to get involved in that. I'm just not. It doesn't help me at all. Now, my sponsor and I might have a conversation about it. Right? But I'm not going to join in the backstabbing. I'm not going to join in the gossip. I'm not going to join in the bullying. As best I can avoid it. The other thing that I think there's an undertone here, a current that sort of attaches itself to other principles that maybe aren't openly stated, but I think are byproducts of practicing the openly stated ones. If my business becomes, what does God want from me? And am I pursuing Him as the battery pack, as the power to fulfill that will? And am I pursuing virtue as just the foundational elements of who I'm supposed to be as a man on planet Earth? Then there's going to be some things that I think naturally come from that. Not only will it just be easier to be joyful, okay? Not only will there be less fiction in my personality. I'll just be Mike. I can just peaceably be Mike without really you worrying. I'm not worried about like what you think. I can just peaceably be Mike. But I think there's some other things. What's going to happen is there's going to be certain people that are attracted to relationship with me, to friendship with me. There'll be people that come around and say, Mike, would you help me with this program? No, I don't know what your needs are in Alcoholics Anonymous. I can tell you what my needs are, as I perceive them. I can tell you what has been a great blessing and help to me in Alcoholics Anonymous. And certainly it has been all the steps, but I would be remiss if I didn't put an extra emphasis and focus on the 12th step. Right? Somehow by trying to practice these virtues, these principles that are laid out in the first ones, and as the reading pointed out, to actually apply them to my life, not just theorize about them or imagine what it would be like if they were in my life, but like to actually try to place them in my life. Things happen. And one of the things that happen is good people show up around me with their hand out, saying, would you help? Now, when I was early in Alcoholics Anonymous, I was confused about that, right? I had this inability to differentiate the truth from the false. And what it's felt like in those days is that you were a burden to me. Look, I'm here to get the help I need, right? I'm here to receive from you. What are you asking me for? I'm not going to come to the meeting early and set up chairs. You're going to be kidding me. I am a young man growing in my career. You're sort of lucky that I'm here, right? And how in the world is doing something like that ever going to aid me? I couldn't see it. Couldn't see it. And candidly, if I'm not careful, there's days today that I can't see. What I've learned over the years in this guidance thing that we just spoke of is I have to be on alert for where no one is needing me. No one is asking me for help. There aren't service opportunities in different parts of my life. I am generally then aware. I can get to a spot if I'm awake and I'm praying. If I'm awake and I'm praying, two things. I can see that all these parts have now become some elevation of myself. Oh my God, be careful there. Look out, man. Turn around. Go the other way. Right? Because I'm off. The greatest gift that God asks me to do in this program is not stay sober. That's the smallest gift he asks me to do. I get nothing without that gift. So it's imperative that I stay on it, right? And respect it and do whatever I can to retain it for sure. But it's all the byproduct. It's all the fruit of not drinking. That's the real gift in Alcoholics Anonymous that magnifies exponentially. The book calls it limitless expansion of the grace of God in life. I thought I had a problem, and I did, when I came in, called excessive consumption of alcohol. Okay? Right, I was corrected that. But there was also a much larger problem that was corrosive, that was rusting my soul, that was breeding tension within me at every turn, that caused me to incorrectly assess you and God himself and the people around me and my obligations in life and my moral compass. That there was something else going on that was eroding me inside out instead of just the obvious outside in. Right. And that was a disconnect with my maker. That was the biggest problem. And by disconnect, I don't mean that I wasn't talking about it. Because we do a lot of talking about it in AA. That doesn't mean the connection's there. It just means we're talking about it. Right? We can describe all kinds of things that we know information about. That we maybe have done something 25 years ago, and so that means that we can talk about it because we've had some experience, and that part's true. But is it in my life today? Am I a better, more loving, kinder man today, not than 33 years ago? Man, I'd better be better than I was 33 years ago, right? That doesn't show much, right? That was a long time ago, at least for me. But am I still striving to do God's will in all the things that God asks me to do his will in, which is all parts of my life? Am I doing that better today than yesterday? Am I allowing God's grace to be active and flow through me to the people around me more effectively today than yesterday? Am I allowing God's power to perhaps influence me in a manner, guide me in a manner where more people can be touched by him than yesterday? Than yesterday. And it's so like, what, like, show me. Let me see. I know you can talk about stuff, right? Like you've been talking about stuff. You're 58 years old. You've been talking about stuff for 57 years. As soon as you could articulate your first words, like you have not shut up. So you can talk about this stuff. I'm not asking you to talk more about it, Mike. I'm asking you to, can you point to behaviors with the right motive, placed in the right spot, of the circumstance that you're in life and work and career, in family, in home life, in your marriage, when you sponsor people in your home, can you point to things you're doing? They have your fingerprints on them, powered by God's grace, that you're doing with more humility than yesterday, more honor than yesterday, more dignity than yesterday, more kindness than yesterday, more patience than yesterday, less self-promotion than yesterday. Yeah, I gotta tell you, I wish I could say yes to all those questions, but I can't. I can't. Do I think collectively over time that I'm growing? Yeah. But I was bad days. And as this little script pointed to, what do we do when we don't know? We go back to the basics. We get back on our knees again. Okay, God, I don't know how I got lost, but I did. Lord, will you forgive me? Will you love me? Will you come with that thing that you do? That like wildly, unbelievably amazing thing that you do when I have a problem and you show up with a perfectly customized solution for the cracks and the holes and the wretchedness of my heart. You come with your sculpting pen and chisel out in this fractured soul of mine a solution for that, because I don't want to hurt these good people anymore. I don't want to hurt my beautiful bride anymore. I don't want to hurt or damage my kids anymore. I don't want to get a paycheck just to get a paycheck because I didn't not show up for 5 days. I actually want to accomplish something while I'm at work. I don't want to just tell people that I sponsor people. I want to love the men that I have the opportunity to sponsor. I think the difference is a chasm. There's a chasm between simply a recovery program that checks all the boxes and does it in such a way that no one could argue with what's being said, and a life of love that produces change in the lives of other people for their betterment, whether I get credit for it or not. And that's hard. And it's hard. I don't know anybody who I've had an authentic conversation with about these kinds of things that like hasn't been stunned at how bad they are at it. Right? I'm terrible at what I just described. This is terrible. If you line up what I just described with my application of it, you'd be like, dude, you suck at this, right? It's like I have to retain the knowledge of where he wants me to go. That's hard enough to do. It's in a world that pulls me to distraction in every angle, right? A world that's constantly whispering in my ear, hey, promote yourself. Hey, look at her. Hey, tell a joke so they think you're funny. Hey, promote yourself in this manner. Hey, make sure you're showing off in that manner. Hey, look at those important people over there. Make sure they notice you. Hey, here's this. Hey, here's that. Hey, here's the people to avoid. Hey, here's the things not to say. Hey, here's the things to say. I don't know about your mind, but this is just mine. Now, it's slower. Admittedly, thank you, God. It's quieter. Admittedly, thank you, God. But it is still that way. And if I'm not careful, if I'm not awake, I will pick up an old goal of the old Mike that had manifested itself many years before I got sober, certainly through the years I drank and in the early time of my recovery. And that goal was this, very simply put, it was distraction from the realities of my life. If I could stay distracted and even then paint it with some sort of virtue, like, oh, I'm working so hard in AA. I have so many things. It's crazy. The violins can play in the background of my life without any chance of reality getting through that. read a book years ago that Dr. Bob used to hand out to all his boys. I'm a big Dr. Bob fan. I love Billy too, but I'm just telling you, I'm a big Dr. Bob fan. And that book was called The Practice of the Presence of God by a guy named Brother Lawrence. And Brother Lawrence was a Carmelite monk who had a really bad leg and he limped around. He was physically impaired. His brothers that were around him in that monastery never called him a great intellect. I'm not saying he was mentally impaired, but he wasn't, at the top of the intellectual list, right? He was a cook. In the kitchen, he peeled potatoes. But he didn't just peel potatoes. And he didn't just limp around imperfectly. And he didn't just, try to help as many people in the local community. And oddly enough, around the world, with his letters and his guidance from south, he tried to do all those things for God. This guy peeled potatoes for God. No cameras, no social media, no big deal, no spotlight on it. He learned to practice prayerful connection with his maker in the moment, and it was the fuel for everything that he accomplished in his life. And the fact that in 2025, we can talk about a monk who probably never traveled more than 20 miles from his house. And no one should really know who he is. There was no media back then. He didn't do anything spectacular. I get why we like Moses. He parted the Red Sea. We better like Moses. But this guy didn't do anything but made sure the potatoes. Now, as an Irishman, it's important. It's an important vegetable for me, right? But so the importance of that is great. But it was nothing magnanimous on its own. Except that it was enormously magnanimous because he did it for God. He did it out of love for God and his brothers and his neighbor, especially the unworthy, especially those who couldn't pay back, especially those who couldn't make a dent in his life. Those are the people he served. That's where merit came in and virtue grew into something that was seemingly a dumb act like peeling some potatoes. And I think that's sort of the same for us. Who makes the coffee in your home group? I know this. 9 out of 10 times that coffee's made, whether you did it or you didn't. Somebody made the coffee. Making coffee in AA might be equivalent to Brother Lawrence peeling potatoes. Might not be, but it might be. Right? Coffee to us is like a potato to an Irishman. It's a big deal, It's a big deal. And like myself, there's people that have complained, I gotta make the coffee. I don't know if he caught my name or not, but this is my dad. Why am I making coffee? Did somebody fail in their own response? Why should I be called? I gotta take Brother Lawrence's attitude and his practice. Brother Lawrence did those things because he was the same as his brothers. And it was an honor to serve those brothers. And that's what I get from this meeting. That's what I get from this reading, 55. That the path is almost always the same. And when I'm confused and I don't know whether to go right or left, I don't know what to do about this problem in my life. And this is a big problem in my life and I got to fix it. And I don't want it fixed tomorrow, guys. Are you listening? Hey, I don't know if you're on vacation, but I got some issues here. You can listen to me, right? Let's get this thing going, right? No. On my calendar, Mike, I'll fix this for you. Go peel your potatoes down. I'll take care of the big things. Hey, Mikey, go peel the potatoes. Hey, Mikey, go answer the phone. Hey, Mikey, show up at that home group. Put your hand out. Hey, Mike, Go love your wife. Hey, Mike, be kind. Hey, Mike, go accomplish something at work. I don't know where your biggest challenges are in practicing or applying the principles of Alcoholics Anonymous, but I am stunned and candidly on some days embarrassed at my failure to practice the very basics of Alcoholics Anonymous in the simplest, most humble, most modest parts of my life. When I don't practice love in the moment toward you because God loves me, I'm off. I'm off. I'm off whether you see it or not, whether you think so or not, whether I got you convinced I'm not off or not, I am still off. Because of the beauty of the 10th, the 11th, and the 12th steps, those three, because of the beauty of those three steps, I can be aware of what's wrong even if the outside world is unaware. Not take that to extreme with odd, remorseful, pandering of my own ego. I'm not talking about that. I have responsibilities today. And most of them are pretty simple. Love whoever is next to me. Bring God with me in each moment of each day as best I can. And when I forget him, go back immediately and pick him up again. Hit my knees. Serve the people around me. And when I'm in that, when I'm holding on to that kind of thing, I'm less worried about what you think of me. I'm less worried about what I have and don't have. I'm less worried about like producing some image for myself that I really don't deserve. I'm just not concerned about those things. Oddly enough, when I'm not seeking distraction to avoid and push off the realities of my relationship with God, when that is the primary thing in my life, I'm not only more attentive to it, I'm now distracted from all of the dumb problems. It's weird, right? It's like the more I allow God to awaken me, the more I'm distracted from the foolish things that lead me astray. I want to thank you for allowing me the opportunity to come and just share the morning with you. I feel like a lot of good friends from the Midwest here and the heartland of this great nation that I'm humbled to be an American in and be a friend to. And I'm very, very grateful for the good folks around the world. Like, what an amazing, amazing morning, right? People from the UK, people from Australia, people from all over the place. Like, it's a beautiful world we live in. And I'm very grateful to be a part of it. I have an opportunity today to be some kind of vehicle for God's love. I don't know about you, but I think my wife needs me to love her. I think my kids need me to love them. I think my friends need me to love them. And if I begin the day without a focus on God, if I begin the day without some effort to connect with him and allow him the freedom to be God in my life for real, they're going to have less love in their lives today. Because I'll get lost. I'll get off base in this path that we read about. I don't think there's any other option that I have if I really want to live out these principles. I'll hit my knees, surrender sort of in some way as best I can, like Brother Lawrence, and grab the damn potato. Start peeling, man. I love you guys. Thank you so much for being in my life. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And even though Young isn't here, we love you, Young. Thanks for inviting me, brother. Take care. Andrew, the floor is yours, my brother. Thank you.